Hi, hello, my name is Maria Angeles and I'm the mother of Francesco. And today this video is especially for the parents that they're trying to take a decision to insert a G-tube or not to their children. And we were in the hospital recently over a month. And being in the hospital, I realized that the G-tube was already pushing down too much to go against his skin. And I consulted the nurses, Holly, from Sick Kids, and she was very nice. She went to the room and we checked it out, and Francesco was already overgrown the size of the G-tube. Finally, for that reason, we decided that it was the time to change the size, and she did me the favor to do it. Okay, we changed the size. Then talking that it was coming the transition, the Zoom meeting, and she realized and she asked me when Francesco was inserted for the first time, and he was 3 months of age. Has been actually like 17 years with the G-tube. Then she asked me if I would like to share my experience about Francesco's journey. And I totally agree, because I have a lot of things to say, and I would like them to share my experience in order that they can help you in some way to take the decision, and also maybe to have any advice. When Francesco was born, he was his weight 4 kilos. Like, he was really a big baby, and his Afghan actually was 9 and 8 and 9, and it wasn't bad. But within 1 week, he started losing weight, and the doctors didn't know what was going on. But I noticed, and I told them that he was not latching on my breast. And the problem is that he started losing weight because he was not taking the nutrition that he was required, until he reached the moment that he started throwing crystals that looks like a blood. And the person that actually helped us more to realize and to contact the doctors and that something was going on with Francesco, it was the breastfeeding clinic. They called the neonatology, and the doctor told us, you know what, I realized that Francesco has some fissures. He noticed for the first time, because, and this we're talking about 3 weeks of age. When Francesco was born, they didn't even notice. He found a heart murmur. He started finding that his suction, it was very weak, and for the same reason he was not latching. And he said that he wanted to do some further studies, but he said, I can send you to Sick Kids, and you're going to be waiting in the emergency room for hours, or you can go home and come tomorrow morning. I work on the North General Hospital as a doctor, and I can give you right away a pass straight and have a bed, and we will just run a checks 2-3 days. Well, those 2-3 days, it convert like 17 days, the first day. And they run a lot of studies, but actually, unfortunately, didn't come nothing. Like the only diagnosis that they gave us, it was failure to thrive. And we left the hospital with an NG2, a nasogastric tube. And to be honest, Francesco was very annoyed for that. He was touching all the time. He was pulling. We were like fighting. And then the doctors offered us the option to do the insertion of the G-tube. He was in that time really very strong. He was very fatty when he was born. But with the time, he started like shrinking and his skin started getting like a loose, like a coat. And then he was really failing to thrive, and to be honest, it was killing me to see him like that. Then when they offer us the option of the G2, we say yes. But they say, okay, there is 2 options. Again, to wait for Sick Kids and to put us in a waiting list, or do it right away in the North General Hospital. And then we say, you know what, because of sake of Francesco, let's do it. But unfortunately, we knew that we will be regretting the decision later in the time. I will wait for the Sick Kids. We were thinking that he will be starting to grow, and he was starting to gaining weight and everything, and nothing happened. Actually, he was like retching, and still being miserable. He was not eating because in the beginning when he was born, just to feed him, it was taking me like a 1 hour, 1 ounce. And to make him burp, another hour. And I couldn't continue because he was like so bloated. Then I could hear that he had a protein allergy to the cow milk. But in that moment, still he was not diagnosed. And he was eating and he was like in his belly. And by the time that he was burping, he was like a drunk adult, like something like that, like really strong for a baby. Then I knew that something was going on, and still the G2B wasn't the answer. They transferred us to see kids, and finally we got a very excellent doctor, Dr. Maham, that today is actually the doctor of Francesco. He is one of the doctors that manages the complex care team. And he was a really open doctor, listening. And this is very important. You have to find always a doctor that listens to you. Because unfortunately, right now it has been changing. Right now it's much better. But before, 17 years ago, the doctors, they were feeling like they were gods. And they were thinking that the parents, we were like the ones that we were endangering the children. And I think so is kind of unfair because the ones that knows better the child is the parents, and they should treat us with more respect. But in that moment, they were not too much. But Dr. Mahon, for the first time, he listened. He brought the GI doctors. And in the end, when they came, the GI doctors and everything, they realized that the G2 of Francesco was in the wrong side. And what they were suggesting is that it have to be reside and do the surgery because that was most likely the problem that Francesco was not digesting and was not tolerating the feeds, and why Francesco was not actually thriving. But in that time, Francesco was already very weak. He was really, really very thrive. And my sister, and she was consulting at the same time the GI doctors in Mexico City. They say, you know what, Anna, my sister's name, your nephew is very weak. He was already almost, we're talking about that he was Francesco almost 7 months of age, and he gained 1 kilo in 7 months, when a normal child, it should be gaining 1 kilo per month. And the doctors decide, they say, you know what, we don't suggest that Francesco got a surgery because we don't really know if this is the solution. Could be that they're right, but could be that it's not. He would manage the surgery. Maybe he can pass away because he's so fragile right now that he can die at the surgery. And to be honest, with that, the advice of my sister, what I decided to go for the third opinion, and I took him to Mexico. I'm taking my son by my own responsibility. I got the passport for him right away, and I managed to go to Mexico in November. And I remember that we arrived to the airport. We went to the church. I prayed for Francesco, and I took him. By the afternoon, we were already on the floor of the hospital. The doctors start checking. They start doing tests. They start checking on him directly. By the third day, they told me that Francesco was having protein allergy to the cow milk, and also that he was having RTA, renal tubular acidosis. And they explained to me in the terms that when a child doesn't have he has renal tubular acidosis, means that it's lacking of sodium bicarb. Not it's like a car without a gas. It's like even though that you are trying to drive the car, it doesn't have a gas, it's not going to work. It's the same. The stomach doesn't work, doesn't absorb the nutrition, doesn't manage the digestion. It doesn't have the sodium bicarb. It was amazing. He started gaining crazy weight. By December, he was chubby. And in 1 month, and believe me, when I brought Francesco in Mexico, he was looking like a dwarf. Like it was just big head, a small body. You could see all the ribs. My father, when he saw Francesco, he started crying. And believe me, I was crying because to see your child and so weak and so miserable, he was not sleeping, he was crying all the time. I can tell you, like, for me, in the first 2 years, I slept 3 hours a day. I don't know how I survived, to be honest. And before I took Francesco to Mexico, Francesco was on 18 hours of continuous feeding. And those 18 hours, he was miserable because he was not digesting the food. He was not processing the food. He was not moving because of the lack of the sodium bicarb. Plus, he was not totally in the digested milk. And then he was actually not able to improve. But thanks God, we spent 6 months over there. I brought him back, different baby. And thanks God, when I returned, all the nurses, to be honest, they were like so happy to see him. Dr. Mahon was so happy to see him. But not everybody, mostly everybody was like so in shock, and they said, "Nah, can be, you changed the child. This is not the same child that you left Canada." But yeah, it was the same child. And you will see the difference between the first time that we took him and after. It's like, really, it looks like a different child. But because how can a diagnosis can actually change the life of someone? Another problem that we encounter is that Francesco was coming out the G tube. And it came 8 times, like after, because Francesco got the surgery in July, I remember. He was born in April, and at 3 months of age, he got it in April, May, June, July. He got it in July, and I think so they waited like 1 or 2 months to have just like a G tube hanging on him in order to heal. And once that it was healed, they were supposed to insert it. Well, this happened before we left the North General Hospital. And they just, when they went to insert it, they guessed, they didn't even measure, and they put 1.2 centimeters in Francesco's stomach. Boom! And then after that, it came 8 times. And every time that it was coming out, it was not, at the end, it was not even lasting like 1 week. We were like, what is going on? Wendy from the specialty store, she was amazing, and maybe he's so acidic that he's breaking the balloon, and for that reason it was no holding and lasting nothing. Like they were guessing, but they couldn't really figure out why it was coming out so many times. When we were in Mexico, being in the hospital, we requested to visit the G-tube nurse from Mexico, from the hospital, and she was like amazing. Believe me, she came, she told me, and just looking, really, this is what amazed me. Just looking at Francesco and being so small, he said, well, I think so. To be honest, for a baby so small, I don't think so he has a 1.2 centimeters of abdominal wall. But I'll be back. And she broke a L plastic, like a rule or something, and with the measurement, and say, okay, in order that we can verify what is the size and we should go, and she started asking me questions. Did they measure? Did you see something that they put it like a measure? What is the size of Francesco's abdominal wall? I go, no, I don't know. To be honest, for me, I'm new. I don't know, like what the doctors are doing, how they're deciding, nothing. And then they say, okay. She came, she measured, and she said, Francesco was 0.7 centimeters. The size that he, imagine it was 0.5, like a half centimeter over his size. And then she explained to me that what happened is that this is the stomach, and this is the abdominal wall, and this is where it's going to be the balloon inflated. But because the space that it was having, it was supposed to be this size, and they forced it to be here, the balloon, it was like a shrinking, and then it was bending. Of course, the stomach, she said, it works as a vacuum, and then it's absorbing all the food and vacuuming. But because already the balloon is like a bending and shrinking everything, it won't last because it will break, because it's like a forcing something when it's supposed to be like this, and with the balloon, it was like this inside the abdominal wall. And for that reason, it came out many times. And because it came so many times, he developed a granuloma, and it was a really thick extra skin. And it was, and I felt, and it was kind of painful for Francesco. She told me, we know the size. It was to call to Canada and to request for the right prescription. The nurse write to me by writing that the measurement it was 0.7, and someone coming from Canada bring me to me the G-tubes. It happened like that, like once that we have the right measurement, they brought me, they changed it, and thanks God, never again. And today Francesco is 2.7. Another is the reason that I did also another video that I highly recommend you that you watch, is that how to change the G-tube. Because believe me, and maybe you have been passing, and the ones that they are going to take right now the decision to do the G-tube, learn how to change the G-tube from the beginning. Because when they came out, oh my goodness, can be by accident, because sometimes we don't want to detach the connector. The beginning, Francisco was raging so much, and I didn't want to take care of the extension, because it was for me easier not to be fighting, connecting, and then venting him to release the gas. Because Francesco has also a fundoplication. This is another decision that you have to take. With fundoplication or no fundoplication. He needed like a fundoplication, like to close the esophagus and to tie it in order that he can be able to vomit, because he was having a lot of reflex and vomited. What we do, rush to the sick kids, wait in emergency. Not everybody knows how to change the G-tube. They have to come with the x-ray, they have to put a tube in order that you can be able to feed him. And then wait till the next day until the G-tube nurses comes and then place the new G-tube. Then I highly recommend you that you watch my video, how to change the G-tube, because it's really easy. Don't be afraid. And believe me, you're going to save many nights of the emergency department. I invite you, because we should be training all the parents, once they have the G-tube, how to do it. And I have another how to use and what are the functions for the G-tube, and also I highly recommend it, because once that you change it and everything, there are so many parents that they don't know how to bend him, how to flush, how to release gas, and then I'm showing in the other video how to use it and what functions it can help. Then hopefully those videos it can help you to figure out many of your questions as beginners, or actually as no beginners, because sometimes unfortunately they do the insertions, but they don't tell you exactly all the information that you should know. Sometimes you are learning by making mistakes or by being frustrated, and this is what I want to help you, that you don't get frustrated. Okay, what are the considerations that you have to do is you want to the insertion for the G-tube for your son or your daughter? Well, first you have to see is the child is not getting the nutrition that it needs, or because they cannot eat by themselves. Don't be hesitant about it. But believe me, there are so many advantages, because Francesco takes a lot of medications. He has seizures, he has kidney problems. I can tell you, it's a huge list of medication that he has to take. And you can give everything by the G-tube. You don't have to force your child, but to give them by mouth. And mostly the seizures medications are really taste very ugly, and they spit it out, and they have to hide it, and they have to mix it, and they have to put it like hiding in the food, and they have to have so many things to give the medication every single day, and not one time, sometimes 3 times a day, and it's like a hassle. To be honest, for me, it has been a blessing to have the G-tube, because if Francesco is sick, I can feed him. It's an advantage. I really recommend it. Once that you have it, don't fight. Just make a peace and be friendly with the G-tube and use it. But still, I advise you, when Francesco, for 3 years, he didn't eat nothing for the mouth. Of course, it was a challenge, and he started eating again. But I we got a therapy that calls Vital Steam, that they stimulate with electric shocks, that to open his mouth by force. I'm showing you some pictures and some videos I will show you. And he didn't like it, he hated it, but actually he started it again. The only thing that I never managed is that he was able to chew. He eats purees, but he's purees and he's fine. He's eating. Sometimes he doesn't like too much, but actually he's eating. Before I used to kill myself too. Please don't kill yourself. Sometimes we push up as a parents too much. I used to like going to a party or going to a park and everything, and I'm like fighting, feeding him, and they don't want it. They want to enjoy. They want to, you know what? Make your life easier. Now I say, you know what? I don't know if I become almost smarter or a bad parent. But now, for example, I go and I don't fight with the hassle. We are going to enjoy, and when it's time to eat, I feed him with the milk in the G-tube. 10 minutes we finish, and then we go back to enjoy what we're doing. We are gathering in a reunion or in a place, in the aquarium, or in a park, whatever. But take advantage of the G-tube, really. Okay, guys. Well, this is a video. I hope you enjoy it. I hope so I didn't bore you. But I think so, and this is my humble opinion. This is my experience that I have with Francesco. I really wish you have a very easy journey. And ask me, like, if you have any questions, I will be just more than welcome and willing to help you. Thank you for watching the video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And please don't forget to watch the other two videos. Thank you very much, and God bless you. Bye-bye.